Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.
To hear that people who probably didn't necessarily need the $600 are using those dollars as well to donate and to give those things back to people in the community. So we're hearing lots of stories like that as well. We live in St. Louis, and we consider ourselves one of the most generous communities in the country. One of the things that we are seeing, and I think is really helpful, is just to support small and local businesses, especially women and minority-owned businesses.
What are you going to do with that $600 stimulus check? I'm Sarah Fensky. This is St. Louis on the Air. Federal stimulus funds have begun flowing into many Americans' bank accounts, and we got voicemails from some of you with very specific plans for using them.
Hey, my name is Josh. I'm calling from St. Louis, and I plan on using that $600 stimulus check, hopefully if it comes in, to pay the remainder of my UMSL debt so I can return to college at some point next year. It's kind of one of my goals of kind of getting my life back on track after, let's say, crazy year.
My name is Mary Fitzgerald, Kirkwood, Missouri. We're planning to use our stimulus check to pay off the big health bills we've had this year, especially the testing I had done for my son to find out he has a math disability. Testing that the school district and SSD didn't know how to do and refused to do. I'm hoping now he can get some help. Thanks.
Now, for the neediest St. Louisans, even very practical plans like Josh and Mary's might feel like a pipe dream. They're struggling just to put food on the table. And joining me today to talk about how the region is doing and how you could use your stimulus money to help is Ed Bryant. He's the Vice President of Stakeholder Engagement for the United Way of Greater St. Louis. Ed, welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. How are you doing?
So, Ed, there are a lot of people with some serious needs here in St. Louis. What do you see as some of the main ways that they might use this $600?
Well, so since March, when we stepped up to kind of assist with the region's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, what we were seeing through our 211 center were some exacerbated needs around food and shelter and long-term affordable child care and job training programs, as well as just basic needs, utilities and those kinds of things. So when we opened up our call center to take on the questions about COVID-19, we saw a significant increase in those calls, just that people calling in just to get questions about COVID and about where to get testing and those types of things. But we also saw a significant increase in calls for clothing and personal household needs, employment, because as we know, a lot of people lost jobs, particularly those people that were wage workers and working for small businesses. And we saw a lot of calls and increases for food and meals, as well as housing and a lot of utility assistance calls as well. So what we anticipate will happen is that most people will take this $600 and do exactly what the two persons, Josh and Mary, did. They're going to probably pay down debt, probably making sure that they get those things paid for, such as their housing and back rent and shelter and those kinds of issues, and then also paying back bills for utilities and paying for back bills for health care and those types of needs as well. That's what we are anticipating people are going to spend these dollars on.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really expensive things people have had to take on in recent months, and this seems like it's just going to put such a small dent into some bills people might have accumulated.
Yeah, it's we are anticipating that there may be another package sometime early in the spring or in a few months. But right now, also when we look at the at this at this bill. There were some other assistance programs that were put into this bill around some rental assistance and some federal employment insurance payments that are going to be extended until March, and the eviction moratorium is extended until the end of January. There's some emergency rental assistance there. There's also some PPP payments there for small businesses. So in addition to the $600, there also are some other resources that are going to be available for folks that are in need.
Well, that's good. So this isn't just checks going to individuals. There's a lot of programs here where it sounds like some of these worthy places could benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, I think one of the things that we saw as well is that the nonprofit philanthropic sector and the business sector stepped up to the plate and helped us to put together some funds to actually get monies directly into the hands of people in the most in need, as well as getting food to shelters and doing a lot of different things to help our neighbors and to help make sure that we were able to prevail in the midst of this significant dislocation.
I understand that money, United Way STL has donated over $1 million through emergency response efforts. That seems like a lot of money. Are those going to designated nonprofits or quicker moving funds?
Yeah, so some of those funds are actually going directly to going to nonprofits. They're going directly to people that are in need. So just as we saw an increase in our calls, we were also seeing an increase in our funded agencies that make up what we call our social health and human services safety net here. So we were seeing a very significant increase in what they were being requested from their clients. One agency in particular had an 852% increase in requests for food and rental utility assistance. So those dollars that we were able to get from the community, where we were able to invest about $1.2 million through our emergency response grants and more than 50 nonprofits serving people throughout the entire region. So those monies went directly to those nonprofits to help them meet that increased need.
Well, in addition to hearing from Josh and Mary, who were kind enough to leave voicemails, we also heard from a number of people on our St. Louis on the Air social media accounts. That includes our Facebook page. It's a private group, but it's very easy to join. You just answer a couple questions, you're in, and then you can talk about stories that we're working on before they go on the air. We got some interesting responses on that. Brad wrote on our Facebook page, 2 of my closest friends both lost a week's pay to COVID-19. They're mostly fine now, but they need the money way more than I do. I'm giving it to them. Susan writes, I plan to have my pet's rabies shots brought up to date. I have not been able to do that on my current income. Maureen says, I've been out of work for 3 weeks, a non-COVID illness, and I'll use the money for bills. I just paid my real estate tax, so I'm pretty much down to the bottom. Brandon writes on our Facebook page, I got laid off back in October, so I plan to pay part of 1 month's rent. I'm doing gig work, so ineligible for unemployment, but taking a massive pay cut. Ed, there's just so much need out there. I mean, hearing from these people.
Yeah, there is, and also I'm glad you mentioned the gig work, because there actually is a provision in the new bill to actually provide some relief to gig workers. So in this new bill there is some additional resources there, and it's also great to hear. We live in St. Louis, and we consider ourselves one of the most generous communities in the country, and to hear that people who probably didn't necessarily need the $600 or the $1,200 that we got earlier last year, because they didn't have necessarily have any income interruptions, are using those dollars as well to donate and to give those things back to people that they really feel like they need them. And we've seen that as well. I've seen that with my colleagues at United Way that took those dollars and donated them either back to us or to agencies or directly to people in the community. So we're hearing lots of stories like that as well.
Boy, that's so great. And I know there's a lot of one-on-one giving that happens. People set up a GoFundMe, people give to that, people might just give the check directly to their friend. We also heard this morning from a man named John Glenn. He told us that he has put his stimulus check towards a veterans organization. So there are also, these nonprofits that could use the help. Ed, for people who are thinking, I want to do something good with this, there's nothing super obvious right in front of me. Any ideas that you would suggest for somebody who might just be looking to do some good?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One of the things that we are seeing, and I think is really helpful, is just to support small and local businesses, especially women and minority-owned businesses throughout our region. They're struggling to keep the doors open, and when we look at the nation's small business sector, it's always been sort of a challenging sector for people just to remain open, particularly in restaurants and service sectors. So that's one area that they could do, is to support those small businesses, and then also support the causes and nonprofits that are meeting the top and most critical needs. And if you want to find find out what those critical needs are, you can call us, you can email us, or contact us, and we can provide suggestions to you of the agencies that we are aware of that are meeting those needs of food and shelter, and as well as just those basic needs around utility assistance, those kind of things. We can help you with that. Also, you can donate to our 100 Neediest Cases. It's a partnership that we had with the Post-Dispatch for almost 100 years. It runs through the end of March, and there are some things that we would be able to help you with there. So, but there are lots of areas that people can invest in, and just to help our neighbors.
We also heard from some other people with some pretty unique plans. Cecilia says she's going to, quote, spend it with a local small business to increase the energy efficiency of our home. That's sort of something you can spend some money on now, and it'll pay dividends over time, one hopes.
Yes, good.
Jake writes on Twitter that he's planning on, quote, purchasing 1,715 postcard stamps for use to send out in a campaign supporting whoever runs against Josh Hawley in 2024. That's apparently referencing our last segment. I have no comment on that, but Ed, the idea of maybe supporting a cause you believe in, that's something that could also be a good use of money for people.
Yeah, it could be, and I think, again, because of our unique line of sight at United Way, and because we run 2-on-1 for the entire state of Missouri as well as for the St. Louis region, we have a unique vantage point of seeing where those needs are, and we have always seen these needs in these particular areas around food, healthcare, housing, income support, and utility assistance, but COVID-19 exacerbated those things. And so those are things that, we really feel as we come out of this and come through this, as we get vaccines and we get vaccinated and we kind of begin to build the economy back up again, spring, summertime, that there's going to be a sense of new resilience that we're going to need to be building. And I think we've learned some things during this time that we can leverage, and we begin to kind of think about systems and approaches that we can work on. One of the things that I am really pleased about that we're working on. So we support the safety net system that is our 167 funded agencies, but now we're also looking at the systems that exacerbate and the systems that actually create the conditions that cause us to need that safety net. And so we're starting to lean into that kind of work as well, along with other partners and other regional organizations. And so these investments that people can make now in these causes are going to help us over the long term.
So that's maybe a good reminder that as much as it's fun to joke about buying a bunch of postage stamps, there are some big issues in this region. Your donation may be better spent, not just sending postcards, but tackling some of these systems. The United Way seems like a great way to get started on getting more information about that. We also have a caller. I'm going to go to the phone lines here. Nick is calling from Wentzville. Nick, hi. You're on St. Louis on the air.
Hi, how y'all doing? So
Yeah.
I think you just
Doing well.
Oh, good for you. I think you just answered the question, right? So we've been very, very fortunate. We work remotely. We're two scientists that have been quarantined, but we would like to help people. So where can we get information to donate to? I do not like the GoFundMe stuff. Sometimes it's flashy, but you know what I mean? I come from the military, right? We got it on site, characterized who needs help, delivered the help, and then moved on. So that's what I'm targeting, right? Where can we make the most return on investment, right?
Nick, that's a great question. And Ed, I think as Nick alluded to, that was exactly what you were speaking to there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if people want more information about the agencies that we support and that we work with, they can go to helpingpeople.org. That's our if you scroll around a little bit, you can find a list of all of our funded agencies that work in a variety of different service and health and human services areas. You can kind of get a good sense of who's doing kind of like this frontline work, and then you can also, if you wanted to actually volunteer, we actually run the volunteer center for the Greater St. Louis area as well. So if you actually wanted to actually give more than just your money, but your time and your treasure, we could actually help you get engaged there as well.
So that's at unitedway.org. We encourage people to check that out. We'll also make sure we get a link on our website. That's stlpublicradio.org. If you want to go there, we'll connect you with some of these things that Ed has been illuminating for us. And Ed, you had mentioned that you feel like the pandemic has been, not that it's been a good thing, that there's been a bit of a silver lining in it, that we've learned some things from it. It feels like there's a note of hope in your voice. Do you feel like going forward, this region's going to be in a better place?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think even before the pandemic, our region has gone through some significant dislocations going back to 2014 and 15 with the
Hmm.
with the social uprisings in Ferguson and whatnot. And I think over each year, each iteration, we learn and lean into these issues from a variety of different standpoints. For the last couple of years, we've really been learning and building muscle around diversity, equity, inclusion, and understand how those issues impact our region as well. We're seeing some leadership in different areas around economic development, around public transportation, some other things, and what we're kind of also seeing is that we're realizing that for us to get where we want to be, we have to change some things. And I think from our vantage point, and I know our leadership, our volunteer leadership, as well as our staff leadership, all of us have the privileges to sit on various tables and convenings and be a part of various organizations. And so there's a sense where I really feel, and I think we feel as well, that the region's pulling in the same direction now. So you see us all kind of pulling together we're staying in our lanes, but we're pulling together in the same direction towards sort of a better flourishing region that we all kind of have this similar vision for. And I think that the COVID-19 pandemic caused us to all, like whether it's with the pandemic response team or the regional response team that's kind of building the muscle to get us out of this, the work we've been doing with the Health and Human Services Safety Net, the work that the new greater STO organization is doing around the economic development and the new jobs plan. We're all pulling together in the same direction now. And so as we get out of the response to the crisis, there will be some infrastructure that will help us get to a better place.
Well, Ed Bryant, I want to thank you so much for giving us a reason to be hopeful today. Some really good news and also some great suggestions of where we can spend our money. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Ed, again, is the Vice President of Stakeholder Engagement for the United Way of Greater St. Louis.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.